Customers are streaming into stores at shopping malls again. It is the first day of the second phase of Ontario's reopening. It's happening just before Canada Day, which is usually a draw for people to congregate. So as we read and hear about the threat of the Delta variant, what are the things that are safe to do heading into this next period? We reached epidemiologist and University of Ottawa Prof. Raywat Deonandan for that reality check. Hello there.
Hello.
Do you think this was the right move to make, lifting more restrictions right before when we're heading into holiday?
Well, it's never the right move, but it was inevitable. I think it's a good symbolic day to represent our freedom from one stage of this pandemic. And I don't think people would have tolerated it had they had to wait for a few days after this. So it was unavoidable.
Okay, but what can people do really safely during a long weekend? Is it safe for people who are fully or partially vaccinated to gather outside with people who might not be vaccinated?
Yeah, so when we talk about safety, the caveat here is nobody really knows, because this is all untried territory. No one really knows how much protection a single dose gives you versus 2 doses. However, it's pretty safe to say that anything outdoors is phenomenally better than anything indoors. It's not perfectly safe, but much better. So gathering outdoors, even with unvaccinated people, so long as you're not like hugging and kissing strangers and being that close, you're probably fine.
Okay. What if I am fully vaccinated? Should I be careful about visiting other fully vaccinated people indoors?
You can visit other fully vaccinated people indoors with the following caveat again, and that is, it does kind of matter how much you trust those other people. Have they been gallivanting out and flaunting their vaccination status in a variety of high exposure activities? Are you in a high prevalence area? And the reason for that is, even though vaccination protects us really well, when the prevalence is high and your probability of exposure is high, then the disease finds holes in our defenses. And so the probability of a breakthrough infection increases. However, all that being said, 2 fully vaccinated people interacting indoors is probably quite safe.
One of my 3-year-old twins had this heartbreaking moment today where she turned to me and said, "Daddy, after COVID, can I play inside at Oma and Papa's again?" And I was,
Oh,
yes. But I was suddenly like, I don't know yet. For kids who are younger than 12, who can't receive any vaccines just yet, how should we be thinking about what's safe to do and not do?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. And I struggle with this one as well. So in general, of course, being around children who are not vaccinated while you are fully vaccinated puts them at some risk if you are a carrier of asymptomatic infection, and it puts other people at risk if they are conveying infection to somebody else. But again, it all comes down to how much COVID is in the community at the moment. Is transmission high or low? If it's really low, then the probability of your child getting it or being exposed to it is also quite low. So all that is to say, I would say it's okay for your child to visit a fully vaccinated adult indoors with masks and some other mitigation tools in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I mean, I think actually the masks thing is still not on people's brains. I think people are thinking, "Woohoo! I'm inside." I mean, there are things that people still need to keep in mind.
They really do, and the reason for that is I've been likening vaccination to wearing high boots when there are floodwaters about. If the boots are higher than the level of the waters, guess what? Your feet are dry. If the water gets a little higher than the lip of your boot, then water gets in and your feet get wet. And what that means is if there's a lot of disease around, then the disease finds holes in our defenses, and even fully vaccinated people, rarely, but not unseen, do get infected. We call those breakthrough infections, and they are happening to some extent in North America.
Given all that we're hearing right now about the Delta variant, how concerned should Ontarians be about the possibility of a fourth wave?
It's always in the cards, but I think we have to do 4 things to avoid it. Number 1, we have to make sure that everyone gets at least 1 dose and more people get 2 doses. Number 2, we have to shorten that time period between the first and second dose as close to 3 weeks as we can. Number 3, we have to prioritize the hot zone areas and high exposure professions like essential workers to get vaccinated. And the last thing we have to do, and this is the hard one, is we have to avoid the temptation to open things up too early. I think we're doing the first 3 mostly. It's that last one I'm always worried about. If we look around the world, look at the USA, where only 25% or so of their new cases are Delta, but the UK, almost all their cases are Delta. And that is the difference in the story there. They're having a harder time. So if we can keep Delta in check, we are golden. But that comes down to the big if we can keep Delta in check.
Are there provinces here in Canada or other countries around the world you think we should be looking to for hope or guidance
Well,
in terms of how they're balancing their vaccination campaign with public health guidelines?
sure. Well, Nunavut recently announced they're going to do away with their mask mandates to some extent because they haven't seen a new COVID case in some time. They have some advantages. They got their vaccination early, and they're remote enough that imported infections are few. They have some disadvantages as well, of course, but that's a good sign. It means that you can control the procedure, or the process rather. And Atlantic Canada has been a beacon of hope to all of us for the duration of the pandemic. They've done some very good and smart things throughout, including looking for importation of infection, so controlling travel, and also responding quickly to the slightest sign of an outbreak. We have a higher tolerance for outbreaks in central Canada. We probably shouldn't. And in terms of bad lessons or lessons for what you shouldn't be doing, there are many examples of that in the USA, where they pretend that vaccination is a bulletproof vest, or the second you're vaccinated, you can go out and doff your mask and throw caution to the wind, or moving things up too quickly, or pretending that the second that vaccination reaches a certain threshold, the crisis is over. All those are bad ideas. I think people have to remember that vaccination will get us out of this, but it won't be overnight. We have to stage the lifting of the mitigation tools one by one, which is why we have this very rational, very proper stage opening plan in Ontario.
You getting a haircut?
My spouse cuts my hair with the dog shears. That's why I look the way I do.
Really?
It's set on poodle mode. Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, from the photos I've seen,
that's a good job.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of getting a massage, and I've
Okay.
been negotiating with a massage organization here. It sounds seedy when I say it that way. A massage therapist to come to my home, but do it in the backyard outdoors, and they'd be wearing a mask and be fully vaccinated. So if those two things are in place, the masking and the vaccination, and we're outdoors, I think it's perfectly safe. I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Raywat, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Raywat Deonandan, epidemiologist.